Friends on Sports56. Here is your host, the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshyn.
Look up on the wall. There on the wall. Under the bottle. Behind the door. There's a crack in the mirror. Someone is holding the way.
Good morning. Good Monday morning. These NBA playoffs, so up and down. We've got the lottery tonight, and I'm hoping there's a lot more drama in this lottery than there has been in these playoffs. Like yesterday, you had, in the OKC Denver game, you had the first quarter 17-8. In the second quarter of Cleveland in Indiana, in a game that was horrible to watch, 22 turnovers by the number one seed Cavaliers. The second quarter, 42-16, Indy. Not much drama. So tonight, Utah's got the best chance. Washington second, Charlotte third, maybe New Orleans. They have an outside chance at 4. Philly's at 5. So that number one team, Utah, they've got a 14% chance, but the same number applies for the Washington Wizards, and it also applies for Charlotte. So those three all have a 14% chance. The fourth team, which is New Orleans, they end up with a 12.5%. Then it goes to 10.5%, 9%, and all the way down, where the last team has a 0.5% chance. That would be Atlanta, which gave it to San Antonio. So San Antonio's got a couple of opportunities here because they're also sitting in the middle of the pack. I'm disappointed, I guess I could say, in the way it works out. There's some storylines, there's no question. The Knicks now look like they have their chance. They possibly, or should, honestly, make the third round, the conference finals, because they're up 3-1. I don't know if you know this. The percentage... Elijah Seegers, I love asking you these questions. You probably know, though. What is the percentage of teams up 3-1 in a series that go on to win the series in the NBA in a best-of-7 when you're up 3-1?
I think it's lower than 8%.
No, the chances of winning it.
Oh, winning it? I would say 92%.
95%, even better. So I don't see how they could lose that thing. That was the big game. Although really the first game was the most important. It's just like Boston had to win game 3, and now they face a 2-1. I think unless you get totally crispy fried like OKC did, I don't know how that happened last night. I mean, like Indy did to Cleveland. Excuse me. I don't know how you just don't come to play. I mean, you did win the game, the first game there. You put yourself back in the series. If this is a close game, you're saying to yourself, okay, you're going to win at home, which you haven't done yet. And then, it was close. You won one game there. You can win that. But when you lose like they did, I mean, what a mental thing that would be. So I don't see how they get back in this. And it's 95%. I think it's the Pacers that are going to be in that final, and they could be taking on the other upset, and that's the New York Knicks. So we'll see about all of that. That there are interesting storylines, but really for game action, I would say disappointing. Do you concur?
I think there have definitely been the disappointing moments, especially of late. I think the OKC-Denver series, despite the horrific shooting performances yesterday, I think it's been a good series. We saw that Friday night game was really good. But with Steph Curry being out for the Warriors and with the Pacers running away from the Cavs, it's really been the Thunder, Nuggets, and the Celtics, Knicks kind of carrying this second round from an entertainment perspective.
Well, we'll see if that continues and see who gets into these conference finals, really known as the semifinals of the NBA. There was the reveal today in the NFL, or some of it. The big total reveal, I believe, is Wednesday. So Monday night lottery, Wednesday night you've got the NFL full reveal, but they, of course, leak stuff early, particularly to the broadcast partners. So on the Today Show today, Mike Tirico revealed that the opening football game of the year will be the defending champion. That's usually the case, the Philadelphia Eagles, and they will take on the Dallas Cowboys, which is absolutely intriguing. So you're going to have an NFC East League game right off the bat with the champions and the team that everybody seems, unless you've got a team, to want to win the Super Bowl. You realize the last time the Cowboys won a Super Bowl was 30 years ago?
It's
30.
ridiculous.
You weren't born yet 30 years ago. This is
not.
before your lifetime. That is unbelievable. So we got the NFL reveal that we will talk about with TJ Reeves. Sepp Straka was a winner yesterday, and this week we've got the PGA. Jordan Spieth has a chance to win the career Grand Slam. I would not place that as a good chance. I would say it's a chance. He is not playing at his best. I think had a day or two of decent play this week and then not much out of Jordan Spieth. It'll be at Quail Hollow, and of course we'll talk a little bit with TJ Reeves about that in the NFL reveal, but also with Ted Butler on the last segment of the show. There was a nice story because it kind of broke it down. We're all waiting for the House settlement. I think Greg and Eli touched on this a bit, where the deal could be done by the judge. She gave them a certain amount of time. This is the second time now we've had this, where she did not accept the terms with roster limits. She wants them grandfathered in. They came back with one. She came back with another reply to that. I believe that their reply, the NCAA's, is due again this week, and then we could have a settlement in the case. But it was interesting. So we know there's a cap of $20.5 million that if you choose as a school, you will go anywhere from Zippo to $20.5 million as your cap, as your limit that you will distribute among the sports. We also found out, I think this is a recommendation, but they have divvied out the money they are recommending to be broken down by the amount, percentage-wise, of revenue that each sport brings in. There's some surprises here to me. So here's the way it breaks down. Of your $20.5 million, it is recommended 75% of that $20.5 million, which would be $15 million, somewhere in that ballpark, would go to football. Then 15% goes to men's basketball. 5% goes to women's basketball, which to me was surprising because I know we've seen the growth of women's basketball, and the WNBA did all those numbers. And when Caitlin Clark was playing in the NCAA tournament, those numbers were actually better than the men's numbers. That, I think, was totally an anomaly. We'll see as time plays out. It certainly was way down this year without her in there, even with Paige Beckers, who is an enticing personality to watch. But 5% go to women. Well, I can tell you this much. The University of Memphis women, and I enjoy, like the Dickens, doing their games on TV. I enjoy that product, but I know that's not bringing in 5% of the school's total revenues. So I found that interesting. So again, 75% football, 15% men's basketball, 5% women's basketball, 5% to all the other sports, including baseball, which I know it's SEC schools, is making money. And I would bet it's making more money than women's basketball. So I was a little bit surprised. Those are recommendations, I believe. Schools don't have to follow that formula. For instance, maybe your basketball team at Connecticut, let's just say.
I was going to say like Gonzaga.
Or well, they don't have a football team. But they do at UConn. Maybe you're not going to give 75% of those revenues to football because you actually, I thought, were committing football suicide. But they made a bowl game last year, though. But it's pretty clear that they chose basketball as their breadwinner. So they may switch those. They may give 50% to basketball and say 30% to football. I don't know what they'll do, but I think the schools are allowed to pick and choose from those percentages to $20.5 million. I don't know, for instance, if the University of Memphis will go all the way to $20.5 million. They may go to half of that. And then what percentage they follow, I don't know. I know because Ed Scott has told me personally, and he said this in a speech, he's got a daughter. He wants women to have absolute equal advantage. Now, I don't know if it'll come down to equal because he's got a football team that he knows is important if they want to get into a Power 4 league. So, but it'll be interesting to see the breakdown on that when all of this unfolds. And I asked Dr. Scott to be on, and he said as soon as the settlement comes in, he'd be glad to come on the air and talk about it. So I look forward to seeing the breakdown on that. Now, that does not touch NIL. And there is no cap that we see. The only thing that we see on that, which to me can be fudged, is there's going to be a clearinghouse that is going to determine what is fair market value. I don't know how they do that. If you're Juju Watkins and you get a State Farm thing, I mean, certainly that's a national price. And you're a name. What's the value on that? What's the value if it's just in Los Angeles that you get a car deal? I don't know. Let's say P.J. Haggerty comes back here and he's a spokesperson for something. What's the fair market value there? And is that the same fair market value for DePaul in Chicago or St. John's in New York? How do they determine that? And there's no limit on that. So all of that will be the way you offset things, I think, especially if you share with Title IX, you'll gear money up other ways. So is there really going to be a cap? Will we end this crazy, nonsensical stuff where a guy's going to make $4 million to play basketball at the collegiate level? I mean, we'll have to wait and see how it all shakes out, but that could happen in the middle of this week. In the meantime, on Mondays, in our very first segment, which is presented to you by the Spirit Shop, go see Eddie at Poplar in St. Nick. You know that little log cabin. You passed it by a million times. You're coming back by Clark Tower, and you're going toward the river. You see it on the right. You go, man, that's just a cool-looking little place. It's not little. Inside, there's so much product. The Spirit Shop has every spirit known to man, accessories, all the local beers. It's got guys inside that are happy to give you an education about what's going on in the world of spirits. If you would like a rub for a craft cocktail, I promise you they got it, or a recipe book on that, or, as I say, information on what makes this bourbon special and why this one is middle of the road. Same thing with wines. What's the newest vodka? Is there a tequila that's about to come out? Eddie Connor and his staff, they give you an education. So go restock and get entertained. Tell Eddie we sent you when you go to the Spirit Shop at Poplar and St. Nick. We give out medals on Monday. I got one bronze. It's going to go to Sepp Straka, who won the Truist. Hard to believe. Straka's already won 4 major events. If you listen to him, he sounds like he's from Chicago. He's from Vienna, Austria, but he sounds like he is a guy from America for sure, but he's not. But he's good. So he wins $3.6 million. And by the way, it's the second tournament he's won this year. He won the American Express back in January. And the guy that was the runner-up in both of those events, this tells you how good a year he's having, Justin Thomas. He's got 2 second-place finishes and a win. And I believe was that a signature win? I think it was. that he was able to capture. It's been a great year for Justin Thomas. He's in the mix for the PGA this week. We'll be talking a bit about that. But it's his fourth overall, $3.6 million for this win. Wow. And I loved his post-match interview when he goes, I was totally nauseous. I couldn't feel my arms. I couldn't feel my legs. I was that nervous. But he was able to carry on and to knock off JT and Shane Lowry, who had a lead in that tournament. So, big win for Sepp Straka. He gets a bronze. I got 2 silver medals. I got to give the Pacers one. They dominated. They were up 44 at one point. I mentioned that 42-16 second quarter. So they go up 3-1, and I already spilled the beans on this, but 95% chance to get to the conference finals. They had 7 guys in double figures. This is, to me, the most impressive thing. They had 37 assists. That's as many rebounds as they had in the game. They had 37 rebounds, 37 assists. The way they were passing the ball was a thing of beauty. They had 17 assists on the first 18 field goals they made. That's called teamwork. Their defense was outstanding. They forced 22 turnovers. We are going to see a very good Cleveland team with the guy who was the coach of the year go down, because they're not winning this thing. I think Indy has this thing all locked up. I give a silver medal to the St. Louis Cardinals. It pains me greatly to admit this, to say this, but they're on their way. They've won 8 games in a row. They are now only 1 game behind the Cubs, who, well, they've had the toughest schedule of any team in baseball, and that's a fact. But they have faltered a bit. Maybe this is their slump spot, and they'll start to take off because they got the Marlins this week, and I think it gets a little easier now for the Cubs. But they played 500 ball while the Cardinals won 8 in a row, and St. Louis now is only 1 game behind the Cubs in the National League Central. And I've got 1 gold medal. It goes to Hunter Goodman, the former Memphis Tiger, who's now the DH for the Colorado Rockies. What he did yesterday, he didn't get the easy thing. He had a double. He had a triple. He had a home run in the game in the win over San Diego. The only thing he didn't do was get a single, or he would have had the circuit. But he got his average up to near 300. Well, it's 288. I'm trying to help him out. But a double, a triple, and a home run, you don't see that every day. Hunter Goodman did that yesterday.
Yeah, as a Rockies fan and a Memphis grad, it makes me very happy to see what Hunter Goodman is doing for Colorado. My bronze medal, I had to give it to the Golden State Valkyries, the expansion WNBA team.
Yeah.
Won their first game in franchise history yesterday, 84-79 over the Phoenix Mercury.
So that was
off to a good start.
That was their opener?
That was their home opener.
Had they already played a game before that?
Yeah, they played 1 game on the road. They're 1-1 on the season.
I didn't realize we were already. I knew they were playing exhibition games, but they've already begun the WNBA season, huh? So they're 1-1. What did the Fever? How did the Fever start? Are they 2-0 or?
I do not know. Actually, I'll have to look that up.
Yeah, we'll double check.
Yeah, my silver medal though, I gave it to the road teams in the NBA second round. They're 10-4. 10-4 are the road teams, and both road teams with the Celtics and the Timberwolves are favored tonight. So that record could get even better.
Man.
My gold medal, I had to give my gold to the Missouri Tigers men's baseball team.
Oh, they finally won a game.
Not only did they win a game, they swept a series.
That's hard to believe.
After starting the conference schedule 0-24.
And no team had ever been 0-24 before.
That's right. And they went on the road to Texas A&M, the preseason #1 team in the country, Texas A&M. They've fallen off since then, of course. But Missouri sweeps the Aggies to pick up their first SEC series win and series sweep, which is pretty impressive.
It's amazing. I don't know how that happened. And they did it in College Station? That is, you never know. That is for sure. 2, Russ. 1, I gave Hunter Goodman a gold. I gave his Rockies a rust. They lost the game before Goodman almost hit for the circuit. 21-0 to the San Diego Padres. They then fired their manager, Bud Black. They had only won 7 games this year, really 6 when they fired Bud Black. Now they're 7-33. I was trying to remember what the White Sox did last year. It was the worst record in the history of baseball. So if you go out with this thing, they're going to win 28 games. They won't win 30 games this year. That would be the worst mark in the history of baseball. I like Bud Black, but I can't blame him for giving them the pink slip. What a terrible start. 21-0? Oh, my God. That is a team that quit for sure. And my final Ross goes to the Memphis Showboats. They lost at home to St. Louis. They are now 1-6 on the year. They've really been competitive in every game, honestly. And I just was listening, Greg and Eli who does the games, was detailing all the different ways they blew the game. And that's just about the way it's been all year long for them. So they have won 3 games since this was the UFL. You can go back even further. In their last 10 home games, they've won 1. They are 1-9 at Simmons Bank Liberty Stadium. Boy, that's why Steve Macy has the hardest job in all of Memphis sports. 1-9 in your last 10 home games. Whew.
A lot of tough breaks for the Showboats indeed. I went with you with my Russ, though. I had to go with my Colorado Rockies, unfortunately. They've hit rock bottom. They have officially hit rock bottom at 7-33, like you said, firing Bud Black. Worst ERA in baseball, worst batting average in baseball, worst about everything in baseball this season.
Terrible.
And they have a lot of guys injured. The silver lining, there really isn't one besides Hunter Goodman, who will likely be their all-star this year, so that's good to see at least. But the Rockies are in a really dark place right now.
No doubt about it. Those are our medals. They are brought to you by the folks at Miramichi, and I should point out today they're open. Used to be they were closed on Mondays, but they're open now, and that place is gorgeous. They got a little bit of rain. It's all greening up. If the evenings would get a little warmer, and they will, then all the Bermuda comes in. The fairways, by the way, have been punched a while ago. So they're not those hard, crazy fairways that were so compacted. They're so much better now. And again, you can't beat the beauty of this golf course in Woodstock, not in Millington. It's 25 minutes from my driveway in East Memphis. It's gorgeous. It's worth going, and you'll love it. Thursday, that's the bargain day, so go check that out. But you'll love the experience. You'll love the folks in the clubhouse. The food is excellent. Everything about Miramichi Golf is an experience, a good experience. It's the total experience. You can go back 7,000 yards and play like all the great juniors will in the Bubba. They have collegiate tournaments there, or you can move up and there's senior tees, there's women's tees. You've got choice. It's always beautiful, I can promise you that, and you can challenge yourself. Miramichi, the total golf experience. When we come back to Tampa we go. Our friend TJ Reeves is standing by. We'll talk NFL release and more with TJ in just a minute.
Be sure to follow us at Sports56 WHBQ on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube to watch live video of our shows. Stay up to date with station events and have chances to win prizes. Don't miss out on anything that's going on. Follow us at Sports56 WHBQ.
I don't think I'm a bad golfer. I know I'm a bad golfer. This is Sheldon Rosengarten with Mark's Main Store Realtors. And sometimes bad is not quite the right word. Awful, that's more like it. And when it comes to selling houses, that's a whole different story. Over the many years that I've been in the real estate business, I have refined and perfected my highly successful strategic marketing program. In golf, forget about my normal 5 strokes on a par 3. But remember the home I just closed in November with 2 offers at full list price. Okay, let's review. If you're thinking of selling, wouldn't you want an experienced player on your team to lead you to the closing table? Someone whose background is marketing and not merely putting a sign in the yard. And remember what people often say, that when you want the job done, call who? Sheldon. You can reach me, Sheldon Rosengarten, at MemphisRelocate.com or 483-0546. That's 483-0546 or MemphisRelocate.com. And go Tigers.
I can't believe how spotless my floors look after using the Swiffer Power Mop. No more dragging around a heavy mop and messy bucket. Now I get the same deep clean without all the work. Thanks to the powerful solution and scrubbing pad of the Swiffer Power Mop, dirt and grime don't stand a chance. And I don't break the sweat. Mic drop. I mean, mop drop. A smarter way to mop. Try it or your money back. At University of Maryland Global Campus, we give our students credit where credit is due. Credit for deciding in the middle of rush hour traffic to go back and get their bachelor's and a promotion. Credit for managing 3 kids, 2 dogs, and a full-time job to pursue an MBA.
Hey everybody, 2026 is already here at All-Star Chevy in Olive Branch. Come out today and drive one of these all-new 2026 Equinoxes. Did you say Silverado? Nobody has more new Silverados than All-Star. I'm out here in Olive Branch today where all the Chevys are. And May is your month to finance your all-new Silverado as low as 0.9. That's less than 1%. And your good credit deserves it. If you're law enforcement, first responder, healthcare, military, education, recent grad, you get an extra $500 bonus. And All-Star has every pre-owned truck and SUV you're looking for. If you don't see it here, ask Jeff and he will find it fast. If you have any vehicle you want to sell, bring it here to All-Star Chevy in Olive Branch and get the most money for it today. So wherever this summer takes you, Drew and everybody here at All-Star Chevrolet in Olive Branch wish you and your family a happy and safe travels. Together, let's drive. Visit All-Star Chevy in Olive Branch or go to allstarautogroup.com.
Now back to Wolo and Friends on Sports 56. Here's the voice of the Tigers, Dave Wolo.
The Family Leisure Studio about to move to Tampa. But right there at I-40 and Wooden Road, it remains pool time where they are already booking pools for the 2025 installation. And you want to get in early so it's ready when June comes and the thermometer goes up. You want your pool to be installed. If you mention us, by the way, it's free installation. And 24-foot pools are starting at under $2,000 with liners at under $300, and all of the pool accessories you'll need, they're 20% off. The 5 to 6-person hot tub that starts at under $7,000. The swim spas and the cold plunge, that's $2,000 off. Please find your way to I-40 and Wooden Road. See our friends at Family Leisure. We head down to Tampa. The big reveal coming on Wednesday with the NFL. The whole schedule will be released, but they always give you a little bit of tidbits. They announced the Cowboys in Philly. I hear the Dolphins are going to play in Madrid. It would seem to me, because you guys have traveled a lot, you've seen the world on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers as their sideline guy. Are you going to Spain this coming fall?
Are you thinking that I might have to get fitted for a bullfighting outfit with the red cape or whatever that thing is?
I would love to see you with a cap on like that.
Yeah, there are a lot of people that would love that for blackmail reasons. So here's the situation. They're putting out some of this piecemeal, and then all of it will be released, obviously, on Wednesday. And it is interesting that the Dolphins are the host team for the first ever game in Madrid, and the Buccaneers are on the Dolphins' schedule. And so everybody's been trying to connect the dots because it's pretty well known, especially out of the South Florida ranks, they don't want a division game with New England, the Jets, the Buffalo Bills to be taken and put in Madrid because of how much money they make off of all the New Yorkers, all the New Englanders that come down to Miami for those games and stay in the hotels and eat and drink and do all the crazy stuff down on South Beach. So we are a logical candidate. I do not, on this Monday on the Mighty Sports 56, have the insight. However, it is out there online. For those that track this and track the leaks, there are a couple of people that often get all of this right because they're tracking leaks, and they have sources that say it's not the Buccaneers, it's the Washington Commanders and Jaden Daniels that are going to play the Dolphins. The NFL has not announced that, but stay tuned that that's going to be a November game. There's also a game for the first time ever in Ireland, and that is allegedly I believe the Steelers are the host team in Ireland. The AFC teams are all of the host teams. For example, for the game in Berlin, Germany, that's the Indianapolis Colts. That's the first time they've played in Berlin. You mentioned the Buccaneers. played the first ever regular season game in Germany now 3 years ago with Tom Brady. We won that game over the Seattle Seahawks, and we played that game in Munich, and it was a wild scene. Played at the famed Bayern Munich Stadium, the soccer stadium, which is like a $750 million soccer stadium. It was wild to be there 3 years ago. So I don't know. It doesn't appear that we are the Madrid team, but that's not confirmed by the NFL. Now, what's also interesting, Wolo, this could be a problem in my house. We are a Lions opponent on the road in Detroit, obviously. The Lions host a Thanksgiving Day game every year. The Buccaneers and Lions have developed a bit of a rivalry. Bucs won in Detroit in the regular season last year. Lions beat the Bucs in the playoffs 2 years ago. Both teams supposed to be very good. I may have another November problem if I am in the Motor City for Thanksgiving. So that could be coming on Wednesday night when we all find this out together.
That is beyond your control, my friend. You have to do what you have to do. I have never understood seriously how, because Jacksonville was like every year they had a game in London.
Now they have two. Right. They have two every year now, right?
So how do they determine how because Jacksonville's the worst drawing team? How is it determined which teams end up playing overseas? I know the Bears played 1 year, but I don't get that. And they have played football in Dublin. It just wasn't NFL football.
A regular season.
Notre Dame played there last year against.
Well, that's correct. Well,
Georgia Tech.
Remember Georgia Tech? Yeah. Georgia Tech beat Florida State last year in Ireland.
Oh, that was it. Georgia Tech and Florida State. Notre Dame's played there
because
before,
half of Tallahassee, Florida, and half of the Knoll fans that I know went over there to get intoxicated for the entire week. No joke, and I thought they were going to roll. And Georgia Tech was like a 12-point underdog and beat them outright. And that sent them careening. So you're right. College has played in Ireland. Notre Dame playing over there. And I want to say this year it's Iowa State and Kansas State, believe it or not. The Week 0 Ireland game is a Big 12 game. So,
you're right about
college football and the
K-State.
NFL expanding over there.
Yeah, I knew about K-State because former Tiger guy is now the president of the Alumni Association for K-State, Adam Walker, and he was talking about going over there. So, that
it's
is
crazy. It's
cool
crazy
deal.
all the international. But you're right. See, the Jaguars have played 2 games in England for years because they've been willing to deal with the NFL. And the dirty little secret is you essentially sell your home game to the NFL, and the NFL now markets it to the UK fans, etc. You give the NFL your confirmed price on what you make from tickets, concession, parking, suites, all of it. And that's what the Jaguars have elected to do for the last couple of years. And the last few years, it's angered a lot of their fan base that 2 of their home games every year end up over there and they have to make the trip. And I believe this is the first year, by the way, that Jacksonville is displaced where they're going to be playing games in other places because the stadium, Everbank Stadium, what is the old Gator Bowl, they've got to try to play. The word is they're playing, I believe, in Gainesville at the University of Florida at least once. They're going to play in Orlando. They're going to play these games in London. They're going to get creative with where else they're playing besides Jacksonville while that renovation is going on because they can't play games there.
Isn't that interesting? Because it didn't seem like that long ago they built that or they redid that stadium.
Yeah, they did an upgrade about 10 years ago, and now it needs another upgrade, and that's a whole nother subject for a whole nother day on all these stadiums, and everybody wants their $100 million, $200 million, $300 million facelift upgrade on their stadium. There's talk that the Jaguars might play a game at the Daytona International Speedway, believe it or not, on the infield of the Speedway, where everybody in the stands can see, and you got the big video boards that they might play there and have temporary seats.
They could fit how many in that?
And don't think that's so crazy because remember Tennessee played a college football game with Virginia Tech, wasn't it, at Bristol?
Well, you know
at
that
the racetrack.
That Bristol is half the cities in Tennessee and half of the cities in Virginia. That's why
and remember, the Bristol track is so much smaller, so the visibility for the stands is so much better for something going on in the infield. Daytona, the Daytona track is literally so big you can put easily 50,000 people in the infield on temporary seats for an NFL game. That's how big it is in the middle.
I think you can fit 200,000 in there. I think for the Tennessee-Virginia Tech game, I think they had 150,000 maybe?
Yeah, they had over 100. Yeah, they had over 100,000. They had like 125,000, whatever that thing would. It was crazy. So they're getting creative. Lots of NFL Europe games. Let's see. The Thanksgiving games will be interesting. There's 3 games on Christmas. Christmas is a Thursday this year. Who are the 3 Christmas games? If we're a Christmas Day game on the road, talk about Ebenezer Scrooge.
Wow.
Same 2022 season, we were also a Christmas game at Arizona. We had to go to Frankfurt. To go to Munich to play a home game, an air quotes home game with Seattle, and we spent 3 days in Arizona that weekend to play the Cardinals on Sunday night on Christmas night as the road team.
Well,
Talk about a Scrooge.
Remember when Christmas was owned by the NBA, and
yes.
now what are they doing? 3 NFL games? What day of the
Correct.
week? What day of the week is it?
Thursday.
That's right.
And the NFL has said they are going to play 3 games from here on out. They're going to play. Afternoon, late afternoon, and night from here on out on Christmas, no matter when it is.
They would not do that to a team where you would play Thanksgiving and Christmas, would they?
No, they wouldn't do that. So it would probably be one or the other. But the interesting thing is we were an East Coast team, an Eastern team that had to play all the way out in Arizona and be out there for 3 days, and it took a long time, and then the game went to overtime, and I'm standing down there as the sideline guy going, you've got to be kidding me. We spent all this time away from our families, away from Christmas. We're going to lose the game in overtime, but luckily the Bucks got the ball. Brady got him in field goal range, kicked the field goal, won the game. So that was a happy plane ride home despite the bah humbug. But we'll find all of this out on Wednesday night is the bottom line. You'll see the barrage of where are the primetime games, what's the first Monday night game for this year, these international games, the Thanksgiving games, that kind of stuff. It all gets unveiled later this week.
And then on Thursday, it's the PGA Championship, the second major of the year. You remember a year ago what happened in Louisville, Kentucky, where Scotty Scheffler got arrested for making an illegal left turn or whatever the heck it was, the stupidest thing ever. I wonder if that officer is still a member of the Louisville Police Department.
My understanding is he is. What I cannot believe a year later, and it's a class thing by Scheffler, is that he didn't go after the officer in the Louisville Police Department for how embarrassing and awful. I mean, that was the second day, the Friday. What a crazy reality TV real life moment where a guy who is the number 1 player in the world and who's played in the tournament the day before is getting there early for his second round of a major championship, and you've got, to say the least, an overzealous cop jumping on his courtesy car that's turning left into the golf course parking lot at a slow speed, acting like, as I kept saying, and I made you laugh with this line a year ago, like he's an international fugitive that this guy's going to capture while he's turning in at 3 miles an hour to the golf course.
I mean, my first impression was this guy is Barney Fife. Just check to see if he's got a bullet in his pocket.
Yeah. Well, the president of Valhalla Golf Club is the one that drove down to the police station. This is confirmed. This is absolutely what happened. Demanding, get him out of jail. We're on worldwide TV. You are ruining the event. What are you doing with what you've done here? You guys have no... And Jeff Darlington, in our business, a colleague of ours, that's an NFL reporter, happened to be standing right there because they were having trouble getting in the entrance of the golf tournament because there had been of the golf course because there had been a fatality earlier in the morning where a bus had run over a volunteer right by the entrance of the golf course. He started filming the whole thing with the iPhone, and he became the newsbreaker, the legend. And he is saying to the police officers, guys, that's Scotty Scheffler, the number 1 player in the world that you're doing this to.
Right.
And they didn't want any
it
part
to
of it
him,
and took him in.
Yeah. Which,
crazy.
That right there is unbelievable in its own right. They were telling him, he was telling them, guys, you're making a mistake here.
This is the number 1 player of the world turning into the golf course. It is PGA championship marked vehicle. So there are a few guarantees in life: death, taxes, will ocean from 4 feet for par. That's a guarantee in life.
Well,
I have a guarantee.
It's an automatic gimme that you have to give me.
Scotty Scheffler will not be hassled getting into Quail Hollow in Charlotte, North Carolina this year at the PGA Championship. That will not happen.
What do you think of Quail Hollow? You've covered it twice, I know, for different events. It hosted the PGA Championship back in 2017, where Justin Thomas was the winner, and he's on a roll. He's had a win and 2 second-place finishes this year. Do you think his good buddy, Jordan Spieth, trying to conquer another career Grand Slam. We'd have 2 in 1 year with Rory finally getting it done in Augusta.
And Spieth, by the way, has been playing better golf the last couple of weeks, including 2 weeks ago in Texas where he shot like 63 in the final round.
Yeah.
I don't know. I know they have tricked out the rough, and talking to a couple of PGA Tour colleagues, they've been working on the course, obviously, for like 6 months to get it ready for this and have the rough be a little more penalizing. This will be fascinating. Rory off the major win. Scheffler, obviously, you always got to know that name. Bryson DeChambeau in these majors. DeChambeau was runner-up last year in the PGA Championship when Schauffele won it. He was runner-up to Rory in the Masters, or at least was in the final group with Rory this year. So keep an eye on DeChambeau, and we'll watch all of it unfold.
The hottest guy on the other tour, which I think is a joke, but Joaquin Niemann. You got to put his name in there.
Absolutely, and it will be fascinating here, right in the heart of the major season with the U.S. Open looming and the Open Championship looming. Let's see, got to get used to the last few years. They've moved. I like this schedule better because you get the Players Championship, the Masters, then the next month the PGA, the next month the U.S. Open, the next month the Open Championship, or the British Open as we call it. So here we go with this major later this week.
No. So you know I don't make my pick until Wednesday, but I'm very curious. You got to give me your pick here. Give me your first 1, 2, and 3 that you think the order will finish for this championship.
I'm giving you tips now.
Quail.
I'm giving you tips for Wednesday. Why do I get the feeling that John Rahm may be ready to go with this one? And he's had some success at that course before. He's got some knowledge of it off the other tour. How do you go against Scheffler, who, again, we shouldn't forget that 10 days ago, or 8 or 9 days ago, he destroyed the Byron Nelson at TPC Craig Ranch and shot, 31 under par, very Woloshyn-like. You got to make him one of the favorites. I like your Justin Thomas. Previous winner there. Just finished, second?
Yeah, twice
in Philadelphia this weekend. That's another name to keep an eye on. Stay tuned.
Yeah. And you didn't mention everybody else's favorite, Rory. Like, if you had the first pick, aren't you taking Rory?
Well, and he finished, 7th or 8th in Philadelphia? He was playing this weekend. And I know he was up on the leaderboard, but yeah, that's another guy. But, I mean, you're talking about the draft. You're doing the draft, right?
Yes.
You believe he would be the number one pick. If you don't take him, somebody else is taking him.
I believe I have the number one pick. So I may
But you're not revealing right now that you will take him. You're just saying you might.
I would say it would be hard not to take him because there are some people think he's going to win the Grand Slam for the year, which has never been done. We had Tiger with a calendar, 4 consecutive, but we've never had a Grand Slam. Some people think Rory could do that. I really don't. But
stay tuned.
Some people do. In fact, one of those people is going to be on with us here momentarily. Right. My friend, as always, we appreciate it. I'll be off next week, or actually the next couple of Mondays, so we will reconvene in a couple of weeks.
We will reconvene when it is June. We'll be getting ready for the U.S. Open, and we didn't even talk about the NBA playoffs. Please tell me you blasted, because I know you got to go. Please tell me that you blasted. We had an NBA playoff game with Minnesota and Denver that was 17-8 at the end of the first quarter. We had Cleveland last night. I know they're injured. Allow 80 points in the first half. I mean, what is up with our 2025 version of the NBA playoffs? Yeah, where have you gone, Bird, Magic, Michael, and that crew? And what we cared about
we
more?
have not necessarily had great drama. We've had good stories.
17-8 at the end of the first quarter. And there's a shot clock and a 3-point shot at 17-8.
And then how about 42-16 in another quarter where there's just absurd stuff going on. Thank you, TJ. We appreciate it.
All right, be well, my friend. Enjoy the vacay. We'll talk again in June.
You got it. That's TJ Reeves down in Tampa. We head to Summer, and what is that? It's just east of 240. I forget the name of the street. Summer Golf and Games. That's where Ted Butler resides, and that's where we will go next on Waldo and Friends.
Start your day with Sports 56 Mornings with Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy. Weekday mornings from 7 to 10, right here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Briggs Powder Coating for a beautiful finish every time. Briggs Powder Coating specializes in automotive ornamental
This is Troy Fiveash, owner of Fiveash Roofing. I have been told that my ads are all business and I should share some of my personality. Okay, I love tongue twisters, like the one about the terrific tasting toast by Taste Tester Toaster, or Big Black Bugs, Bleed Blue Blood, and of course Sally and her seashells. Or of course the ever-present I'm a Mother Pheasant Plucker, I plug Mother Pheasants. Okay, enough of that. If you want an honest, fair, reasonable roofing, siding, or gutter estimate, call Fiveash Roofing at 367-0050. That's exactly what you'll get. No empty promises, no high-pressure sales tactics, and no fast-talking salesman trying to convince you that today and only today is the best day for you to get a new roof. For the record, the best day to get a new roof is when you're ready for one. Fiveash Roofing, fair, honest, and ethical. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com.
Fiveash Roofing, it's what we do. We're here for you.
When you partner with CDW, your people get more out of technology. CDW AI architects deliver Microsoft services to automate tasks and boost productivity, helping sales reps connect with more customers, remote teams collaborate seamlessly, and small businesses compete at scale. That's amazing. Make amazing. Microsoft and CDW. Learn more at cdw.com/modernwork.
I'm Gary York. I'm the service director of Lexus in Memphis. Our service department wants to be more than just a place where you get your oil changed. We do glass repair, windshield replacement, recalibration of your camera and sonar systems, even wheel repair, tire replacement, all the things you would expect from a luxury automotive dealer. Please check out our website. You can schedule your appointment, check out our specials, hours of operation, or if you'd like to do it in person, please reach out to one of our associates at 91271-5199.
Now back to Wolo and Friends on Sports 56. Here once again is the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
All we hear is Radio Gaga.
We had summer golfing games, and our good friend Ted Butler standing by. Big story, of course, is going to be Quail Hollow this week, but let's go back a step to Step Straka, who won for the second time this year, a guy from Vienna, but he sounds like he's from Chicago. You don't think he can win 2 weeks in a row, do you?
No, I don't. But he was impressive. I'll say that. He played great the whole second time this year. You know, he's played great golf coming down the stretch. Showed some nerves. You know, hit some great shots. I was really impressed.
He did say he was nauseous, couldn't feel his arms and his legs. He was so nervous.
In there.
But you know, and I'm a little surprised because it's the second time he's won this year. He's won 4 times on the PGA Tour. He's played in the Ryder Cup for the European side. I was really sort of surprised that he said that. Maybe it wasn't just the fact that he was playing for another win, but maybe it was because he knows the payday was $3.6 million in a signature.
That would tend to make you a little bit sick to your stomach. You know, a little nervous.
What do you think?
Imagine how Lowry feels after 3-putting 18.
Oh, I know it.
Thomas Pope. No, I'm sorry.
What do you think of Straka's game?
I like it. I mean, he's not the longest guy out there, but he hits it all really solid. It's straight. And that sand shot he hit on 18, you know, from 216 yards, some kind of iron shot out there that almost hit the pin on the way by under that kind of pressure. That's an incredible shot. I'm probably a 4 or 5 iron or something, but that was great.
I was trying to think. Shane Lowry, who had a lead in this thing for a bit. I'm not. I know he won with Rory, not this year, last year in New Orleans at the team event, and He's been a great European player. He's a terrific Ryder Cup player. I don't know that he's won a PGA event, has he?
Well, he won the British Open a few years ago.
That's right.
That's the only PGA event he's won. It hasn't been one since then. He just can't quite cross the finish line. You know, he hit some bad shots on 16, 17, 18, and then that 3-putt. I mean, how bad he must feel last night and today, and a 20-footer to win the tournament, and you 3-putt?
I know it. That is terrible. What did you think of the cricket club, the replacement for Quail Hollow, because that's where the PGA is. We'll get into that in a second. But did you like that? looked kind of cool to me. That's an old golf course outside of Philly, not far from Marion, where I believe you played in the U.S. Open.
That is correct.
How's that for
long
memory,
time
huh?
back, about 1825. I think
No, it wasn't that long.
No, yeah, it's a yeah. I like the golf course. You know, the fairways were good. The rough was deep. The holes got tougher down the stretch. You know, the first few holes were kind of easy, so you get under par. And I think the front nine they played like 230 under par, and the back nine was like 25 under. So coming down the stretch, you really had to hit some golf shots, and it was fair. The greens were really difficult. You know, it was kind of like Marion in the sloping greens. They're so fast, and then when the wind blows like that, it makes putting really tough.
I think I'm looking at my notes here, and I can't quite find it, but I believe there's like 180 bunkers on that golf course.
Well, that's a lot.
That's 10 a hole. That's crazy.
I like that.
But it was interesting. All right, so now we move to Quail, and this is a beautiful golf course. Everybody says its beauty is much like Augusta. I will confess I've never been there, so I can't relate how Quail Hollow might compare to the prettiest place I've ever been. But
And me as well.
there's some great storylines here, and let's start with Jordan Spieth. We've seen Rory finally get his career Grand Slam. It's been a couple of chances now for Jordan Spieth. His game is not quite in the same place, although he's playing better than he was earlier, but not in the same place Rory's was. Any chance that Jordan Spieth gets the career Grand Slam?
I don't see it. I've got a nudge towards Rory because I like the idea of maybe two majors in the same year, and he's been playing well all year long. JT is on a roll. I mean, he had a tough time down the stretch yesterday with a couple of bad shots, but he's really playing well. I'm going to pick Rory, but I just don't think Jordan's ready yet. He still has too many bad shots.
Well,
really bad shots.
Yeah. JT has two runner-ups this year, both to Sepp Straka, by the way, in January and this week. And then, of course, he won a tournament event for the first time in a couple of years.
Right, Harbortown.
Do you realize the last time and the only other time they played a major at Quail Hollow, the PGA Championship in 2017, Justin Thomas was the winner?
Yes, I do realize that. I also realize that Rory's won there 4 times. In other tournaments.
You know, and it's funny to me how you've now amended your pick, because if you'll recall, I wish we could go back really instantly and just play it for you. But you said, no, not only will Rory win this one, you said he was going to win every major this year.
Well,
do you recall that?
That's why I'm picking him. Yes, I'm picking him this week.
But you've amended. You said you think he's going to win a couple of the 4. Now you're taking.
No, I didn't.
You just said that a minute ago.
No, Justin Thomas has won a couple of them. He's won a couple majors.
Right.
Rory, no. I'm not amending that at all.
You're sticking to the fact we're going to get a
yes
Grand Slam in a year from Rory.
Yes.
Okay, so obviously
the fact.
He is going to win that year. Are you discounting Scotty Scheffler, who just won by all those strokes at his hometown at the Byron Nelson?
No, he'll be around there. You can only pick one person. I think Scheffler and JT and Rory and Matsuyama and maybe Schauffele.
Oh, you're putting Matsuyama in there. And that's interesting because Andrew's not been playing that well. What about a liver? Do you see Joaquin Niemann, their best player? Do you see John Rahm as
no?
What about DeChambeau, who's played great in these majors?
No, I don't see it. I can't root for him. I don't see it. DeChambeau's game is just all over the place. He's like major league pitchers going to the minor leagues and winning games.
I love it. That's a great way to put it.
Well, it is. I mean, you take the best players in the world and send them off to a different league, and they win some tournaments, but they come back here and, aside from DeChambeau, who's been even close to winning a tournament.
Well, and Koepka played pretty good like the first year he was off the tour, but he has not played well of late.
No.
The guy I think would have a chance here, not that I'm rooting for any liver, honestly, but I think Neiman might have a chance because he's playing really well on that circuit.
Well, he is. But again, now he's going from the little league up to the big league, and he's not won a whole lot of tournaments over here.
And you got to play 4 rounds. They're used to just playing 3 and it's over, which is the most ridiculous thing.
Right. And there's no music in the background, no dancing girls either. It's real golf.
True. It is, and I would love for Rory to win this thing. I don't think we're ever going to see 4 in a row. The only guy that could have done that was Tiger. There is no Tiger out there right now. I don't think, but it will be fun to certainly watch all of that. What does a guy got to do to win at Quail? What's the key to that golf course?
Well, you got to keep it in play for sure. That goes without saying any major tournament, but nerves, not opening up with a 74, hanging around from the first couple rounds, keep involved, keep yourself in contention till Saturday, and then the best players shine when the light's on. And I think Rory he's in a good spot right now. I mean, every week he's finishing top 10, top 5. He's hit a few off the world shots, but I just like his chances. It's for history, too. It's exciting.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, last thing. That is, we've gotten a lot of rain, and we're supposed to get a bunch of rain the next few days. Give me the biggest key to playing when it's wet and kind of muddy outside, even if you're playing lift, clean, and place.
There's 2 things. The first thing is when you set up to the ball, you got to choke up, because what most people don't recognize is your weight, you sink into the ground, and maybe only a quarter to a half an inch, but and that's why so many people hit it fat when it's wet, because they don't choke up the club. And the other part is to make sure your club face is dry. Don't ground the club and get water on the face, because it's going to squirt anyway. But more importantly is getting a good solid stance and get your feet dug in and choke up a half inch and let it fly.
You've always said that. It's interesting. You sink a little bit down. You don't think about it. So choke up.
It happened to me one time playing golf at Chickasaw a long time ago. I had a perfect drive, and it was wet, and I had a fat shot on 16. I looked down, I walked away, and there was a half-inch footprint from where I was standing. I thought, well, you never thought about that. But it was there.
There you go.
So you're closer to the ball.
Choke up and don't ground the club. Those are the 2
I'm
keys.
not that heavy.
I love it. No, you're not. And you still are in great shape. Ted Butler, we thank you so much. We will chat again. Actually, it won't be for a couple of weeks. We'll be off, but we will talk back next in June.
Okay. Thanks, Dave.
Thank you. That's Ted Butler, our guru of golf down at Summer Golf and Games. He's brought to you in part by Southern Security. That's your home team credit union. That's a place I love talking about, the best credit union voted by you guys for the last 7 years. And are you getting the best possible rate on your mortgage? At Southern Security, they're going to offer low rates, flexible terms, no PMI. And I love talking about their service. It's always great. I love talking about their technology. They're building a new bank building in Collierville that will have every new bell and whistle. And you can refinance your current mortgage with the Mid-South's best mortgage leader in a very simple way. You can go online at southernsecurity.org or actually talk to a human being at this number, 901-452-7900. Southern Security is an equal housing lender and proud supporters of the University of Memphis Athletic Department. Southern Security is your home team credit union, federally insured by NCUA. Johnny Radio is right around the corner. We got the usual Tuesday coming your way tomorrow morning. We'll see you then. Have a great day, everyone.